Welcome and good evening to Satsang with John David. So if you watch from your computer or your iPhone, you can come into the meeting by Skype. So you can ask from home, you can ask a question or say hello, have a dialogue with John David. And you can do this through Skype, and the Skype address is Meeting John David. And if you like to have a more intensive time with him, you can come to the Easter retreat here in the Open Sky House in Hittorf. This is from the 9th to the 13th of April. And information about this you find on the website www.johndavidsatsang.international. And if you like to visit us here in the community, you can come at any time as a helper or as a guest and join the daily life here. And you find information about this on openskyhouse.international. Thank you.
Welcome to Satsang. So as the Black Plague is about to get us all, I think we need some jokes, don't you think? Might as well go out laughing as any other way. This is a special one for Stefan. After a long illness, a woman died and arrived at the gates of heaven. St. Peter came out and told her, to get into heaven, you have to spell a word. Which word, the woman asked? Love. The woman correctly spelt love, and St. Peter welcomed her into heaven. About 6 months later, St. Peter came to the woman and asked her to watch the gates of heaven for him that day. He was going to play golf or something. While the woman was guarding the gates of heaven, her husband arrived. I'm surprised to see you, the woman said. How have you been? Oh, I've been doing pretty well since you died, her husband told her. I married the beautiful young nurse who took care of you while you were ill. And then I won the lottery. I sold our little house and bought a big mansion. And my wife and I traveled all around the world. We were on vacation and I went water skiing today. I fell, the ski hit my head, and here I am. How do I get in? You have to spell a word, the woman told him. Which word, her husband asked. Czechoslovakia. It's when you play with young girls, you get into trouble. A plane with 4 people on board is about to crash. The 4 people are the pilot, the president, the world's smartest man, and a 10-year-old. They only have 3 parachutes. The president cries, I'm the president. People need me to live. And he jumps out. The world's smartest man cries, I'm the world's smartest man, and I'm needed in the world. And he jumps out. The pilot sighs and says, you take the last parachute, kid. I'll go down with the plane. That's my job. The kid smiles. No need, there are still 2 parachutes. The world's smartest man took my backpack. This is a really Monty Python joke. After a fast chase, the police stopped Raj. This is Raj, by the way. The policeman says to him, I did not have that much fun the whole day. If you have a good excuse, I won't give you a speeding ticket. Raj replies, 3 weeks ago, my wife left me for a policeman. When I saw your car coming, I was afraid you are bringing her back. Okay, so now I think we're going to survive the plague, at least for one more evening. All right. Actually, I have to say that, I've been away for quite a long time, actually, and in a very different reality, because I was 2 months in India. And sitting here tonight and looking out on such a big group of people sitting here, it's really, really touching, deeply touching to me that I don't see really anybody. I see and feel this amazing conscious oneness we have here. I really find this a very beautiful situation that somehow we have come together over the last few years, I could say, and sitting all together, we so easily come into a deep silence. And in this deep silence, all the different characters, all the different personalities, all the stuff, it all disappears. It's amazing. It really, really disappears. And because it's like the first night back, it's somehow more clear than maybe it is sometimes. So maybe it feels funny when I say this, but I don't see anybody. You know, it's really amazingly beautiful. Maybe if you're very attached to being a somebody, that may not be so nice. It may not sound so friendly. You know? But if you understand what I'm saying, it's very, very beautiful. And so, you know, whatever is going on at the moment, and quite strange things are going on at the moment, I find this is very, very touching. You know, when I was young, I went to the kind of school in England where we had our own priest, who was pretty uninspiring, actually, as I remember him. And he basically completely spoiled my relationship with God. He couldn't help it somehow. I mean, he was just the kind of person that you could never really respect, had a connection to God, you know. He just wasn't the right guy. And somehow the whole system of Christian blah-blahs, I could never deal with it. And so somehow I threw away God when I threw away the Christian stuff. It all went out together. And as you can see, I'm now very old. So for many, many years, I've been involved in coming to something deep inside me. In a way, for some strange reason, my whole life has been focused on that, to come to something inherently wonderful, which we all have inside us. And somehow in the process of this, because it's been already 45 years, this thing going on, I see that more and more recently, that I've come into a really deep connection, oneness. I'm not quite sure really what's going on, but a completely new reality to God. I wouldn't even been able to use the word God a few years ago. And even now I tend to use words like divine intelligence, divine wisdom, something like this, yes. But there is something which is incredibly beautiful. And in a way, it's been guiding me actually for many, many years. I would say if I look back, it's actually been guiding me for my whole life. But for many years, I couldn't appreciate it. I couldn't connect to it really because of all my sort of anti-Christian, anti-God kind of ideas I had. And maybe I had to have all those kind of anti-ideas in order to find out what is really true. Yeah? And maybe it's also because I'm now 75 years old, so I'm kind of in the winter of my life, and you know, you start wondering what's on the other side, or where we're going, or are we going anywhere, or maybe it's all finished soon. So for whatever reason, I don't know the reason, but I can see how that all the more important things in my life are somehow completely decided by that up there. And that up there is also here. So what I've been looking for deep inside myself is also up there. I mean, up there, of course, I don't mean exactly up there. I mean, everywhere. So this is somehow an interesting personal voyage because of my school days. It took me a long time in a way to come back to something which I could have had a direct contact when I was much younger. And maybe I did in a way have that direct contact, but I didn't have words for it. I couldn't verbalize it because all the words I might have used had all been messed up by this horrible little priest in our school. Not only the priest, but various other things. I was recently in the south of India, as I mean, many of you were there with me. We had a very wonderful retreat this year. I always say that, but this was the 20th year of the retreats there. And somehow it was a very powerful retreat, and we met some wonderful other teachers in the retreat. And I was planning to come back, I had a ticket to come back. And then towards the end of the retreat, there was this voice. I don't know, the voice is not really the right word. It's not really a voice, it's more like suddenly there's a message, and just like a message is there. And it was suggesting I should stay and give some meetings in that town to the public, because when I go there every year, I'm basically only working with the 30 people that come with me. So I did that, and then I met one or two quite interesting people in that 2 weeks. And then, amazingly, I got another message, and this message told me I should go to the north of India, to Rishikesh. And I hadn't been there for 20-odd years. In fact, the last time I was there was when I was still with Papaji, my spiritual master. He went there, and we all followed him there. And I remember swimming with him in the Ganga. He took a bath in the Ganga when he was 85 or something, I think, at that time. And we all kind of floated around him in the water. And, various other memories like that. But anyway, so I hadn't been to Rishikesh for many, many years, and I don't really know why I didn't go to Rishikesh, because now I can see it's kind of one of the great spiritual centers of the world, actually. And it has an amazing spiritual history. There's some very famous ashrams there from great masters who've now passed on. And it attracts people from all around the world. It was amazing to see. People were coming there for yoga. There was a yoga festival while I was there. A lot of people come there for yoga. And for many people, yoga is the beginning of, or maybe not exactly the beginning, but it's probably near the beginning for most people of this journey to come to what's essential. And so I was quite inspired to be there. In fact, I was so inspired that there was a moment when I wasn't even going to come back for this weekend, but stay another 10 days or something. And I couldn't decide, this message came, why don't you stay longer? You're having a lot of fun here. You're meeting interesting people, blah, blah, blah. And then, so I didn't know how to decide. So I said, okay, this afternoon I will decide. I just couldn't decide in the morning. So I said, okay, in the afternoon we decide. And I'd been having meetings with not so many people, 8, 10 people. But we'd had very mature people coming, and we'd had very juicy meetings. And on that afternoon came very unjuicy people who were not really interested. And I was sitting there, and suddenly, maybe the first time ever, I was sitting there saying, I don't want to talk to these people. I was really shocked, I didn't know what to do, really, because I had this very strong feeling I just don't want to talk to them, because I could just feel they're not really interested. And that made me realize, okay, now I have to leave, That was actually the way I decided. So instead of, I carried on, I'm English, I'm very polite, really, so I carried on talking to them. But as soon as it was finished, I said, okay, we're going back, And this is because what I was just saying, to sit here with all you guys guys and girls, and I say guys, I include everybody. Don't get upset, girls. That somehow it's like, it's so beautiful, I don't know if we all realize how beautiful it is to sit together with a bunch of people and everybody disappears. And all these, normal, important things which we think are important, all these daily dramas which we get easily involved in and which we think are terribly important, that suddenly they all just flip away and we're left with something that is really important. And this thing that's really important never changes. And amazingly, it's the same in every one of us. And this thing that's in every one of us, which is so important, which never changes, is also what we can call God. So this is my own journey, really, what I'm describing, because somehow for a long time, that possibility of recognizing God wasn't really possible for me. So I wanted to read something from my new book, and maybe some of you have seen this, Meetings with Remarkable People. We're now working on a German translation. And this was very much a directed book. And I wanted to, this weekend, to introduce Gangaji, who maybe many of you know, but she's one of the more important teachers from Papaji. And she's a woman, American woman. And she's been teaching for many years, so many of you probably know her. And so I have an interview that I did with her in Amsterdam some years ago, which we're going to watch tomorrow night. And that interview is put in this book, is one of the chapters in this book. And in the first page of her chapter, she says this: I'm not in control of life. I'm at the service of life. I'm waiting to hear what the latest instructions are, the latest demands and commands are. That for me is beautiful. It is not a burden. I'm not a slave to life. I'm a bride to life, and I'm thrilled with that. So this is how Gangaji does her life, and I find this very, very beautiful, actually. And I can see that increasingly that's how I'm also doing my life. In fact, if I look back, I can see I was always doing that, or that was always happening, because in a way it just happens through us. While we're busy with some kind of drama over here, this is anyway happening over there. And maybe we're not really in contact with it because we're so tied up with the drama, we don't really see what is really directing our life. And the invitation is that we can surrender to that. And maybe, probably what I can see in my own life is that over many, many years, and it's taken many, many years, maybe it's taken my whole life, is a kind of deep surrender to that. And the way she's describing that, she's also clearly very surrendered to that. I don't actually personally know Gangaji very much. I've met her sometimes, but I don't really know her so much. So I don't really know how her life is going and so on. But the way she writes, I find very, very touching. And it's a kind of challenge because, of course, this drama, which we call me, my life, this drama is very, very sticky. You know, it's very sticky drama. And we are very caught up in that very sticky drama. And it seems to be very, very important. And while it's very, very important, and while we're very stuck on that drama or stuck in that drama, then we can't really easily access this part which is much more important, which is real, who we really are. So this drama actually hides or blocks the possibility to come to know who you really are, and also to come to understand how the whole thing works. Because somehow in my old age I begin to see more clearly how the whole thing works. Or I think I do. Maybe I don't. Who knows? It's a mystery. Very, very amazing things happen. I haven't been to Rishikesh for years. And some years ago we had, somebody had gone, well actually Indira had gone to Rishikesh. and made contact with some bookshops and given our books to them. And we had terrible trouble to get them to pay us, so we stopped giving them any books. And this year, when I went there, just one of the nice little kind of things that existence throws in when everything is going in the right direction is that there was a new bookshop. He had 5 bookshops, and we met him, and he had all my books, and he was so happy with my books that he said, well, all the books you brought here, if you don't sell them or, just give them to me, I will buy all of them, you see. And then I found that actually there were a whole number of bookshops. Well, all the bookshops in Rishikesh except one had my books. And this is quite touching. Maybe you don't know this, but when you write books, it's a pretty big job. And you never really know if anybody appreciates the book. It kind of goes off into the ether, and you never really know if anybody gets touched from the book. So to find my books in a whole load of bookshops in Rishikesh is very, very touching, actually. And the bookshop guy actually liking them and saying what amazing quality they are and that blah, 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 kind of touching thing. So this is a bit on my personal drama, of course. But at the same time, I wanted to say that, when you get an instruction, like I got this instruction to go to Rishikesh, it wasn't easy. I had to buy a new air ticket for 2 people. I had to spend a lot of money to have a hotel and blah, blah, blah. And then we had to find a place where we could do the meetings. And amazingly, when things are meant to happen, they just go incredibly well. So we found this beautiful hotel room, and he had a meeting room in the hotel. And it was a kind of quiet hotel with a nice garden. And I thought, oh yeah, I'd definitely like to do my meetings there. And he said, fine. But unfortunately, he said he had a date until when I couldn't book the room, which was too late. There was no point in going if I had to wait so long for the room, because he had a wedding or something going on in the room. And so it felt like it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And then suddenly the hotel guy called and said, well, actually, we have another hotel. And there's a room in that hotel, and you can do your meetings in that room if you like. And I said, well, where is this room? Where is this hotel? And it was right next to Lakshmanjula, which is like the epicenter of social life in Rishikesh. So I couldn't have got a better place to do my first meetings. And on the first day when Radha was going to go out and print some little posters, we're going to put a few little posters around. When she got to the print place, the guy said, why don't you do some big posters? They're very cheap. They're going to cost, 3.5 euros or something to do a huge poster. So then this hotel people, who by then had decided they liked me and were going to kind of support me, they put it outside the entrance of their hotel, this huge poster. I was almost shy to see it, And then a funny thing happened. You won't believe this. A funny thing happened because one morning, Radha went there and she said, somebody has ripped down the poster, right? Somebody's ripped it down, completely ripped. And I was a bit shocked because in other places, people rip down my posters, but I thought in Rishikesh, I haven't been there before. Why would somebody already be ripping down my posters? And then the hotel, because by now the hotel were very much supporting us, they said, oh, well, we have a security camera. We'll see who it was. I thought, great, now I find out. And then you won't believe this, talking about how existence works, right? So of the 4 corners, one corner had got loose in the wind and was flapping in the wind. And a dog came and got upset with this flapping, and he grabbed this poster and he ripped it down. So it was only a dog who ripped it down. It was so amazing to see that. So it's very beautiful when you can just enjoy, in a way, the play of life, the play of life. Yeah. And of course, you can't do surrender. You can't do surrender. And so surrender is something that gradually seems to creep in. It kind of creeps in. It's a bit like if you put paper into ink, gradually the ink kind of comes into the paper, slowly soaks into the paper. And I think surrender is a bit like it soaks in, it slowly soaks in. And it can only soak in when this drama is seen and when the drama is going away. So somehow the drama needs to go in order for the ink to come into the paper. And so there's a kind of process, I think it's a whole life's process, really. We have to let go of all the things we believe ourselves to be in order to find out who we really are. These two things go together, letting go, seeing and letting go of what we're not in order to allow what we are to come in. And this is very, very subtle, actually. It's not words. You can't find words really to talk about what comes in. It's a kind of mystery. It's a mystery beyond words. Truth, people talk of truth. Truth is beyond words. Only really poetry maybe can point to truth. You can know it from your own knowing, you can know it, but it's very hard then to tell somebody else what is it you know, what is this truth that you know. But if you know it, then there's no question. And somehow these moments, because I'm pretty sure almost everybody here has had some moment when they absolutely were in harmony with truth, absolutely in harmony. And in those moments in your life when you're in harmony with truth, they were the moment where you could say that was the most beautiful moment of my life. I was the most content, I was the most free, I was the most, I was the closest to love, this difficult word love. I was the closest to this word love. I didn't want anything. Everything was enough. Everything was enough. Peace, because everything was enough. So even if you've experienced this only for a few moments, this changes your life. Because you can't really forget that, although unfortunately people do forget that. Even this most beautiful moment of their life, sometimes we forget it because the daily drama gets so strong. It seems to be so important. And as I often say, it seems to me that you have to make a priority. So when you've had this moment, and as I say, almost everyone here has had this moment, so you all know what is true. You know it, and you all know who you are. And then we kind of forget it, or it gets forgotten because of what seems to be more important. The drama of our life seems to be more important. So if we don't want to forget it, then there has to be some kind of priority. Without the priority, you almost certainly will forget it. And this priority is actually not so easy because the drama is connecting us into a kind of it connects us first into our immediate family, and then it connects us into a bigger group of friends, and then maybe colleagues through work, then into the society at large, and into the particular country at large, and so on. So we're easily connected into all that. And then we can easily forget this most beautiful thing. So there has to be some kind of priority that we don't want to forget it. We have to take some action. Wow, oh, that's a lot. So as we've got quite a few new people, maybe have we got a microphone? So if you would like to say something or ask something, you could do it from where you're sitting. And if you are an old timer and you would like to rush out, we can have a dialogue together here. Of course, if you're new, you can rush out and have a dialogue here. You're welcome, but you're going to come here or? Okay. This is Victoria. I always think she's American, but she's actually German. All right. I'll take that. Just pull it. You can just pull it. It's okay. Yeah, and a bit up then. Yeah, fine.
I'm so happy to be here again.
Yeah?
I'm so happy. Your words touched me very much, your last words. I feel it in my, in this part of my body. And I'm very, very happy. And the time in India was very important for me and very touching and changing. When I came home, I felt for 2 or 3 weeks like a big bubble, a warm, big bubble. And as you said, I didn't have any wish or it was everything okay like it was or it is. It's a wonderful feeling, a wonderful calm and silent feeling, and a deep one. I never had that in my life before.
And this is really peace, yeah? This
Yeah.
is really peace.
Mm-hmm.
And to live day by day in this peace
Yeah.
is the greatest gift, actually.
That's a gift, I think.
Yeah.
And I took it in my meditation every day. And I could hold it for 2 or 3 weeks. But as you said, I think after that time, there was suddenly a little, I don't know what. And the daily little drama came back. I can't sleep very well since years. And in the weeks of when we were together in India, I slept like a baby. And the 3 weeks after as well at home. And then some secret, I don't know what, happened again, and I'm awake at night. And I do my practice and ask, who am I? And but it makes me very tired, and my energy is going. It's fading
down.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my question. What can I do to sleep like a baby again, or I don't know what it's not a real drama what happens in my head, but it's like a wie eine Satzschleife. Ich weiß nicht, like a loop, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think unfortunately, it's often like what you're describing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 weeks is already quite good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing exactly to do, you know, and there isn't any little trick in a way to suddenly start sleeping again like a baby. But probably, for example, this weekend will again put you back into that peace, because that peace is who you are, you know, that's your nature. So, you know, you could say that everybody's birthright when we arrive on this planet is to live in that peace. But unfortunately, the way we've created our, how can I say, our growing up of children, our kind of society style, it creates rather unnatural way of growing up. And so we lose contact to the possibility of growing up in this peace, I think. And then it goes on into our adult life, and so, you know, the whole thing becomes difficult. And so basically we need a reminder in a way, you know. So in a way my job is as a reminder, and this kind of weekend is as a reminder. And at some point we become our own reminder, yeah. So yeah, you just have to learn to be aware when it starts to disappear. You have to be able to see, well, what's going on now.
I feel it.
And you can't always see it so easily, because sometimes the thing that's causing it is deep inside, and we maybe don't have really access to whatever that is. Because a lot of the things that disturb us happened when we were very, very small, when we couldn't even talk in the first year or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, but the feeling was great, wonderful, and I had the feeling that nothing is nothing but being in that silence is important. Do you know what I mean?
So, but I mean, just to go to that retreat, and then after 3 weeks there, come home for another 3 weeks, have maybe 5 weeks or 6 weeks in something very silent and peaceful. And it was so lovely and wonderful and amazing. You can then decide that you're going to make choices which support that and don't take it away. You know, it might be you've got some close friends who you see them as friends, but actually when you meet them, they never stop talking, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
And you may see that, well, that person may be not such a useful friend anymore, because I would better to have a friend who sits in silence with me.
Yeah, I've got only one, but one.
Yeah, yeah. So those kind of things, you know, because if we just follow the society style or something like that, the society style is that people never stop talking, actually. They never stop talking. I remember in Rishikesh there was one favorite kind of Satsang cafe. So I remember one day I'd gone there, and there were it was full of people. So I shared a table with two younger women, and one woman was talking to the other woman, and the other woman didn't say very much. She occasionally said, yes, yes, I understand, yes, yes. And the other woman never stopped talking for the whole hour, non-stop. And they'd just been to a satsang meeting, and so she was talking about all the things she came to understand and blah, blah. Now she knows this, and now she knows that, and she sees that. But for 1 hour, she never stopped talking. And at the end of it, you know, we had eaten our lunch, and then I was going to say, oh, excuse me, and then I thought, no, it's not my business, you know, it's not my business. So I didn't say anything, you know.
I know.
But you see, that person is not really a friend, because to be in this kind of cyclone of talk, right, is not really helping us to become deeply connected inside. And maybe, we also have to make a choice that maybe it would be better to be friends with a tree or a river, and just go and see our special tree in the forest, or walk along the river. Might be a better way to spend our time than sitting with friends who never stop talking. Last night I was with Indira. We came back quite late, and on the way we stopped to have a meal in a restaurant she knows very well in her hometown. And we came in and sat down, and I think we didn't really talk almost anything in our meal, but the whole restaurant was amazing. There was this kind of thunder of sound, everybody, talking to everybody. I mean, and the whole game is you go out to dinner with a friend, and that, you just talk and talk and talk. You tell all your life stories endlessly, and that is like a habit. It's like a habit, And if we want to be silent, and if we want to come to our true nature, we have to somehow change these habits. It's not some great spiritual blah blah. It's simple stuff like seeing how we have habits which don't really serve us. And that's why the priority has to come here. You make this priority for being quiet and being with yourself. You make this priority. So I have no problem not to talk. I mean, I think we spent about 9 hours in the car together yesterday, and that we didn't hardly speak in the 9 hours. That doesn't mean there isn't a connection, but it just isn't happening through speaking.
In former days, I was afraid of this silence, but nowadays I'm getting more and more. I love it more and more.
Yeah. I think it's completely important to embrace this silence. Not just, during meditation. For half an hour a day we do our meditation, then the rest of the day we never stop talking. But actually to bring that into everything of the day.
I see.
And you look very, very good. Yeah?
Thank you. I feel good.
Do you remember this woman? She looked very good. Yeah? You really look good.
It's everything from India.
What? What?
It's everything from India, from that time.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, but you look very good. Yeah.
Relaxed.
Yeah. Right.
Murray said, you're always taken care of.
Right. Yeah.
I remember that.
Right.
How is your leg? May I ask?
My leg
wanted
is
to ask you.
heading for a hip operation as soon as we can do it now.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the pain never stops.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was told to do it 2 years ago, and then other people told me not to do it. And I don't obviously want to have an operation, so I basically put it off. And I remember the first guy who did an X-ray, and looked at it, he said, well, you can do it right now, he said, but just come back when the pain gets too much. So it's taken 2 years, but now the pain is too much because it never stops, really.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had about 500 massages when I was in India, and that didn't really help either.
Like your torture every day.
Yeah, every day it was kind of it was a pleasant torture. And when I was in Rishikesh, I had also 8 Ayurvedic oil massage tortures, which weren't really tortures. It's a bit more nice when the way they do it. And in a way, it all helped, but it also didn't really help. And so I come to the conclusion that I have to do the operation now. Yeah. So it's okay.
Now my heart is very light. Thank you.
Okay. Can you just a little bit lower, yeah, and the camera is on you. Yeah. Okay.
I'm here in the house now for several days,
Right.
and I see that here's a very strict structure in the house.
Strict structure, really?
Yeah. So
You're the first person that would use a word like strict, I would say. Most people say it's very chaotic.
yeah,
But if you see it as strict, I mean, maybe it's getting better. Maybe getting better.
okay, it's chaotic too. But when I look at my daytime or
Right.
the time from the other people, I can see that most or everybody in the house have a lot of work
Right.
and nearly no free time.
Right.
And there's no time left for the normal things everybody do, looking for personal fun or something like this.
Personal fun. Terrible fun.
And there's no time for
Thinking
choosing.
even. You can't even think here. No thinking, no fun.
No.
It's pretty close to a slave camp, actually.
No, that's not what I mean. But there's no time for making my own decisions so much as I'm doing during daytime. So
Decision.
here's
You've got some own decisions?
but here's the structure in this house. And why is it needed to have a structure like this?
Well, I don't know. I'm probably not the right person to ask. You know? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we have this structure. I mean, we start off every morning, you know, at, what time is it? 8:30, 6:30? When is it? 7:30. 7:30 in the morning for an hour. Then we have breakfast. Then we have tasks until another meditation, and then lunch, and then you get the afternoon off, but other people work, and then, you know. So yes, there's a structure. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you can tell it or not, but the motivation, for example, to do the tasks is not really directed, you know. I mean, Stefan likes to think of me as a terrible ogre, you know, kind of a great authority monster who is getting out a whip every day and, you know, slashing everybody, you know, beating them up until they, you know. But the reality is not like that. For example, this book, which is, if you look at it in our bookshop, is an amazing book, yeah? Because the people who worked on this book, they just put their love into it, you know? They put their love into it. They did impossible things, like this cover was designed, it went through about, I don't know, 8 different designs. And every design had different colors, and it all had to be printed out, and little bits had to be moved, you know, up and down. And I mean, the amount of time and energy that went into this book wouldn't be possible in any normal publishing company because of the time element, yeah? It would just cost too much. But here, the people actually want to produce something beautiful like this book. So the motivation is not the John David authority monster with a whip. It's their own heart, you know, their own heart. Because they've been making 30 of these books over the last, 15 years, I guess. Yeah. So it's a kind of passion, not just John David's passion, but all the other people working on the book's passion, you know. And because we want to actually put something out, you know. We want to perhaps make things just a bit better, you know. And so that maybe is a structure for you because that involves a lot of work, because on top of making things like this, I mean, this book costs quite a lot of money and a lot of time and won't bring any kind of income. Won't bring any income. None of our books haven't brought any income, actually. Well, they bring an income, but no profit. So our publishing company never made any profit. It's plus minus zero for 15 years. Yeah? So basically, in any normal business situation, we would have been bankrupt already, 12 years ago. But we're not making money out of that. We make money out of other things, like we have a guest house, we have a massage business, seminar business. So these businesses also require a lot of work. And the work we put into those businesses bring an income which supports things like this. Right? And if you like, supports this meeting, because we have these cameras, we're broadcasting, and anybody who might be interested to watch can watch. Tonight we have 20 people watching. And then we have an archive where another lot of people will watch. So this is a kind of service, you can say this is a kind of service. And we're not a very big community. And so this small community works a lot. But this work is a kind of devotion. It's not a devotion to John David, it's a devotion to, what is it a devotion to? I don't know. It's a devotion to love in a way.
I have not the feeling that the people do it because there's so much pressure. That's not what I wanted to say. I have the feeling that people do it because they have a feeling to do it.
Right.
And they like their work.
Right.
But when I compare it with normal life, then it's so different focused.
Of course, because in the normal life, some people are doing something they really like, yeah? But the vast majority of people are not doing something they even like doing. They're doing it for all kinds of reasons, which are not the reasons from the heart. They're doing it because they hope that when they get to 65, they can retire and have 10 nice years or something. We don't live like that. We live every moment, Every moment is it, Every moment is the play. Every moment is the work. Every moment is the celebration. And therefore, in this community, you can experience, I think, a very loving energy field. Did you experience that?
Yes. Yeah. It's really touching to be here.
All right. Welcome. Don't be put off by the hard work,
No, I've no
I
problem.
think if you talk to the people, they won't experience it as hard work.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
I have not the feeling that
For
someone...
example, tomorrow night we're going to show a film I just mentioned about Gangaji, yeah? And we don't have it with German subtitles. And we realized this 3 days ago, that we don't have it with German subtitles. So for tomorrow night's meeting, 4 or 5 people have been working to make the German subtitles. And one woman is not coming to the meeting tonight, but she's sitting next door checking the subtitles, so it'll be ready tomorrow night. Yeah? Nobody told her to do that. She chose. She's been living here for 12 years, so missing one meeting is not such a big deal for her. Yeah? But still, she chose to do that. And in a way, that's a service to the people who watch the film tomorrow night, who don't speak English.
So that compassion is needed.
Compassion is needed, but compassion just comes, I mean, you can feel the energy when Victoria talks about this 3 weeks, when she felt everything was very peaceful and she was just there in the moment was unfolding, how good she felt, yeah? So then there's an enormous compassion that comes out of that. You don't decide it, it just comes out, It's like this man, from Microsoft, what's he called? Bill Gates, right? So Bill Gates is a certain kind of individual, right? Probably has certain brilliant talents. So he developed this amazing company, Microsoft, yeah? So this became a huge success. And out of that, he became the richest man in the world. He had so much money, what to do with it all? You know? He had billions. And then at some point, he must have gone through some kind of process, and he decided that it wasn't really completely satisfying him to be the boss of this amazing computer company. He started to feel inside himself maybe that he wanted to give back something to humanity, because out of this enormous success he had this enormous money, and he could use that money to do something really spectacular. And so he basically gradually quit the company. As far as I know, he quit to Microsoft, or he only partially involved. And he started a foundation, a charity foundation. And because he's a very clever guy, the way he looks at situations, he brings to bear on health problems in Africa, for example, or toilets in India. I don't exactly know what his projects are. And he brings to bear a certain attitude to solving the problems, then completely backed up by enormous amounts of money that he can bring to do that. Yeah? And I would say this is completely compassion. He's motivated completely by compassion, because he's not going to make more money from that. He may get more satisfaction. So there's a personal element. But basically, I would say that if I would ever get to meet him, I would almost imagine that he's a man now completely taken over by compassion. But he didn't really decide it, I guess. I don't know, but my guess is he wouldn't have decided it. It would have just come up inside him, and he didn't have really a choice. So the guys who've lived in this community, I mean, in a way, they've made some priority, which I respect very much, because they've made a priority to change their life quite drastically, and to live in a very different kind of structure. You say it's a strong structure, and not to have time to make personal choices, not to have time to make too much drama, not to have time to do all the things that you may greatly value in your life.
For example, he has no television in the house. Normally, in every living room is a big television, and for hours the television is running. So.
Yeah, I mean, I offered several times to the community, would you like to have a television? We can make a television room, And nobody has ever, in 15 years, nobody has ever said that they wanted the television. Nobody, amazing. I mean, actually, we have a lot of televisions. We have about 25 televisions, but they're in the guest rooms, because the guests, of course, have to have a television, And, of course, people could go in a guest room which wasn't being used and watch the television. But I never asked anybody, but probably nobody ever does that. I'm the only one who has a television. Because, my problem is that I'm English, and I have to watch the BBC News, Otherwise, I don't even know what's going on in the world anymore. Because I can't read the German news. So if I don't watch the BBC every night, well, not every night, but some nights, I like to be somehow to know what is going on, So I have a television for that. Now I've got a big problem because my dear friend Indira told me about Netflix. So now, this is really terrible. So 4 days ago, I bought a monthly thing from Netflix, And now I've discovered there are millions of amazing films that I only have to click and, So now every night I go to bed later and later,
Do you think that a change inside is possible without changing the outside, maybe living in a community like this? Or going away from the normal social.
I mean, of course, I can say that, in theory, you can change your life anywhere without changing the outside of your life. Yeah, of course, you could say that, and maybe it could be possible. But I don't know anybody who ever did that. So, I mean, I think how can I say? I mean, you can't change your life until you want to change your life. And you don't want to change your life until there's a reason why you would want to change your life. Yeah? So, for example, I'm talking now about this moment, for example, Victoria was talking about this 3 weeks, or maybe it was already a month, when she felt so peaceful. So when you've experienced something like that, then you have a reason why you might want to change your life. Like, she might decide that some of the people who she thought were friends, she realized now that they are not really friends that serve her. So nothing against them, but they don't really support what now is maybe her priority. And so maybe she'll make some different choice now in her life. Yeah? And I think pretty without question, I would say, something that's very unpopular is that actually a spiritual teacher is needed for the journey. So especially here in Europe, there's a very strong idea, I can do it myself. Yeah, but I don't know anybody who did it themselves, actually. So all the people who say, I can do it myself, they haven't done it. They're 40, 50, they haven't done it. So then probably, if it would work so easily alone, why it didn't work, Yes, they're a bit spiritual, and yes, their life is more quiet than it was before, but they're not living in this enormous peace that could be possible. And once you've experienced that peace, I mean, now it will be very easy for Victoria to make various choices which maybe would have been difficult before. Now maybe it'll be easier for her to spend more time alone, walking by the river rather than being in a coffee shop talking to friends. Maybe that would be much easier for her. And to decide to come and live in a community like this is not something you can really decide. It's more like a happening, It's a kind of happening, because coming to a community like this is only for really crazy, mad people. You see? This is only for the people that really, 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 really want to live in peace. Our community is not very spiritual, but as you say, we work a lot, It's not a spiritual community. This is a community of people who really, really, really want to live in peace. And that requires certain choices, And I made all those choices in my own life, so I'm not, I'm sharing my own experiences in life, Until I was 27, my mother was very, very happy. I had all the kind of attributes that she would have found to make her happy, I was going to be good middle-class engineer, architect, doing things that she would have found acceptable. I would have almost certainly have had a family with some nice little kiddies and all this kind of stuff, And then suddenly she couldn't believe it, First I went off to Japan with all those strange people. They all look the same, all those yellow people in Japan. When I was leaving, she said to me, "How are you going to know one from the other? They all look the same." And I'm like, "Really? Is that right? Maybe it's true, And then when I, out of that, I went to India. And then I was from her point of view, I was sitting in the sun for years doing nothing. You see? And basically went downhill from there, and she never really recovered from my choices. my choices made her very, very sad, you know. She could never understand what I was doing. To the end of her life, she never understood. My father also, who really should have been able to understand. So I became the black sheep, you know. But, you know, at a certain point in the journey, you just see that, you know, okay, let them judge you as they have to judge you, but it doesn't really make any difference. Because you know that they've never experienced this peace that I'm talking about. And if they would experience it, which they might, because it happens to many people very spontaneously, if they might experience that, then maybe, you know, they might read one of my books, which they've never done. They might. Probably not. I mean, the ideas we hold in the society are very, very strong. The habits, you know, the kind of habits of what is the life, you know, what is the life, yeah? There are very strong habits.
So the structure is a help for coming out of my own habits.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, somehow there needs to be some sort of mechanism, you know, to go from the old conditioned ideas about things to something new. There's a process, you know, there's like a rebirth that happens. And this doesn't happen so easily. I'm not talking about it tonight, but, you know, people can become very afraid when things start to change. It's not such an easy journey. It's a journey also, I think, that needs a certain safety zone or safe environment, you know, kind of it needs an environment where there's support, you know, from other people who understand. And I would say that the energy in our community is a great support, because sometimes you feel like shit. Absolute shit. It's not all lovely, but sometimes you contact something inside yourself, you know, and you feel like absolute shit. And that's not easy to deal with in the regular society, but in our community, everybody's gone through moments to feel like really shit, and so easily people support each other. And the whole energy field supports anyway. Okay, I'm not scaring you.
No, thank you.
Okay. So maybe we just play this game a little bit. So we have a community in Ukraine, and somebody from there is coming through on Skype. So we'll just talk a little bit to them to say hello. I'm supposed to go there next week, and today I was told that in Ukraine they found 2 people with this virus, and on the strength of that they're closing all the borders, so I probably can't go next week. So I don't know what's going on in the world. It's very strange things. I mean, more people die from car accidents, you know, more people die from falling in their swimming pool. You know, it's not exactly as terrible as it appears to be. Is it working? Aha, okay. Hello.
John David.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Arini, I'm very impressed that you're sitting there. And your friend?
My friend.
Yeah, hello, hello.
Аля ее зовут. Аля.
I thought I would never see you when you didn't come to India. I thought I'd never see you again.
Can Vima translate because they don't understand English?
Right. He'll translate, yeah. Wait a minute.
Okay, you understand a bit, but you...
Okay, he's going to tell you what I just said.
Я думал, я с вами больше никогда не встречусь. Вы не были в Индии.
You can talk Russian, you can talk.
Anyway, I'm happy that you're there. I'm happy you're there. Yeah.
Я рад, что вы там. Я рад, что вы там. Я рад, что увиделись.
А мы тоже очень рады. Тут вообще такая атмосфера чудесная. Просто такое спокойствие. Мы сегодня прямо, у нас такая медитация была со стеной. Прошпаклевали всю стену, я очень была довольна.
Okay, hang on, wait. He's going to translate, wait.
Yeah, we're also very much glad to see you. And we're very glad to be here because the atmosphere is great, it's very still. We had a meditation time with the wall, by painting the wall.
Right, yes. Yeah, painting white is very good, yeah.
Да, красить в белый цвет — это очень хорошее упражнение.
Right. Good preparation for next weekend.
Хорошая подготовка к следующим выходным.
Yeah. It's not really clear if I can come or not.
Пока что непонятно, смогу ли я приехать.
Yeah, they may be closing the borders.
Может быть, закроют границы.
Yeah. They don't want any foreigners bringing this black plague.
Они не хотят, чтобы иностранцы перенесли с собой вирус.
Yeah. So we're not sure if I can come.
Поэтому пока неизвестно, смогу ли приехать.
But if I don't come, we're going to make a wonderful weekend anyway.
Но даже если не приеду, у нас все равно будут замечательные выходные.
And we'll have this kind of meeting with me also.
И будем вот так вот встречаться тоже.
Yeah.
Хорошо. Но мы вас будем ждать. И будем надеяться, что Украина пустит.
Okay, we'll be waiting and hoping that Ukraine will let you in.
Okay, yeah. Okay, very good. I'm happy you're there. Yeah. And hello to your friend. Yeah.
Привет. Привет всем, я рад, что вас увидеть.
Okay. Good.